So there I was, just like a regular chess hero, stroking out e5 to e4, playing d5 to d4, and, dealing with all the openings that resulted in that choice. And that was okay, especially if I got the Italian setup, because in the Italian setup I took the bishop away and I got that classical setup and I knew what I was doing. But then I have to deal with like the Royal Lopez, and I'm not really sure exactly what opening I want to go in. Played around with different openings, never really sort of found the opening that sort of like spoke to me, if you want to put it that way. And I'd have to remember the gambit lines, like the Scotch gambit. I had to remember those lines fairly deep, because they were horrible if you didn't know the actual theory on those. And then how to deal with the King's Gambit. Well, I played the classical setup, which worked for a bit, but then again, I'm not really familiar, not really happy with that. And then, anything else that like can throw at you, you've got to like deal with those things. And then there's d4, which is a massive thing, especially down at the local club. Lots of people will play d4 openings, and they play system openings. They play like the London and the Collet. Or you got the Queen's Gambit, and play the Queen's Gambit declined, but wasn't really happy with it. It was a bit too sort of dry. I could get draws in that line and things like that, but it didn't really work for me, because it's a difficult opening to crack, so that never really worked. But I've tried the Benoni. Anyway, one day I was playing Blitz. I played a few Blitz games. I was white, and my opponents kept playing b6. French and by the advance, which I've been looking at a little bit. Oh, we get one of these. Oh, it's because there's the course out and Chessable on this. All right, I'm just going to take this and develop. Right, and I kept thinking, what's going on here? So I decided to have a look at b6, the openings myself, and this is the result of my experiment. So it's true, I didn't learn the opening very deeply. I just learned the general sort of principles of the opening. I looked on the database. I read like Wikipedia article on it or something like that. So I got the general structure, the general idea of it, and then I thought I was going to go and play a bunch of Blitz games and experiment with it. And then after every game, I'd look at the opening and like rectify any errors for next time. Just in my head, try and do that. And I've just looked at the stats on those games, right? And it has surprised me, and it's not what I thought it was going to be. But, this is why you look at the stats. So, of the Owens b6, I've just had a look, and against e4, I have played 186 games in that. And these are like 5-minute games, 5 minute with 3 seconds increment Blitz games on live chess. So I played 186 games against d4, and I've played 93 games against d4, and 20 odd games against things like c4, 1 knight f3, which can sometimes end up transposing anyway. And I am quite shocked with the results, right? So percentages wise, e4 b6, my win rate is 42%. Yeah, that's not good, is it, right? And my regular win rate with e5 is 46%. So it's actually a little bit worse playing e4. Right, but look at d4. This is very interesting indeed. So my win rate on the 93 games is 35% win rate, right? And that's compared with 43, 44% looking at other openings. In terms of the club, playing actual over-the-board games, I've had limited exposure because I'm not playing much these days. I've played 3 rapid games in b6. I've won them all, and I've played 1 really dreadful, boring game at regular time controls, which resulted in a very early draw. And at this point, my opponent offered me a draw. So in terms of going down to the club, I've not really got much data on that, but looking at the stats on live chess, this so-called experiment, is not really working for me by the looks of this. So either I had to drill down in this opening, buy a course, whatever, and learn the theory and work with it, or I just dump it and throw it out the window and try something else, because 35% win rate over 93 games. Now, you've got to bear in mind that it's a new opening, so I think there's a sharp learning curve where I'm going to walk into like some dreadful opening moves because I've not studied it really. I've just sort of played it and see how things work out. So I've got to bear that in mind, that it might dent the opening stats a little bit. But 186 games, 42% win rate, not great compared with 46. 35%, that's really atrocious. And I'm surprised. I thought these stats were up, actually. I'd sort of, in my head, planned this video as, wow, look at this opening, it's amazing. I'm doing really well with it. You could try it as well. But it's not really working out that way, but that's fine. You know, I think it's good to explore options, and it's good to experiment and play around with it. So now I am actually wondering what the hell to do, whether to play around with something else. For example, I played about 6 or 7 games in the modern, you know, playing 1G6 to everything, and the stats like 50%, but I've not got enough games to work with, so obviously it doesn't really count. So what I might do, I might try the modern experiment. Actually, let's just experiment around. So I might have a look at playing the modern. I'm going to maybe do that. If I do that, I'll do another video in another few months telling you how I got on with the modern experiment, and that'll probably be atrocious as well. I end up going back to bloody E5, won't I? But you know, that's the way it works, isn't it? So yeah, I'm not decided yet what I'm going to do. I'm either going to drill down with the B6 thing, or I'm going to play around with the modern. I might play around with the modern. I don't know. I'll let you know anyway. But will this opening change your life, or whatever I'm going to phrase the title as? Well, it might do for you, but it's not done for me. Anyway, take care. Goodbye.